Hey guys, Bubba here with the Bubba News, all in one word, all in one news. How are you guys doing tonight? I'm gonna try to keep this under 20 minutes, and I'm trying to find a different pattern here by doing videos with me in the picture via the Chromebook, because I guess I've gotten some comments, people like that, I guess, because they want to see me in the picture, but other times, like tonight, I'm just gonna record this from my phone and just get out some bunch of news, crazy news, and and I'll get to the end, but stick around for the end because Zechariah 12 verses 2 and 3, I believe, are coming up very soon. So, thanks guys for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, welcome. But guys, there's just so much going on with Israel and the Middle East and Bible prophecy. And, this is now my fourth video in a row, 4 nights in a row. This is crazy town because I'm very sporadic in doing this, but I think it's time to almost start doing daily videos, if that makes sense, because the news is getting so crazy, or at least I want to do at least 3 to 5 a week, maybe. I don't know. I'm praying about it. You guys help me pray too, and we'll go from there. But yeah, let's get right to the news because this got started this morning with Hamas. They actually launched rockets. It's first time basically since what is that? January, I believe. So they launched 3 rockets towards Tel Aviv for the first time in months, and one was intercepted, and 2 others fell into open areas. And it's firing these rockets in response to the attacks there in Gaza. So Israel's estimating that the Houthi attacks from Yemen are going to intensify as the IDF expands operations into Gaza. Like here, this next picture. I mean, the IDF issued a huge evacuation warning to the Palestinians area there in the southern Gaza Strip following Hamas's rocket fire on central Israel. So their Arabic language spokesman of the IDF, he published a large map of the area that said to be evacuated, saying that this is a final warning before the IDF carries out strikes there. We're going to talk more here in a second about Gaza and what they're doing, but they're once again launching their rockets from within civilian areas. That's what these guys are doing. They're shooting these rockets where a bunch of the refugees are. I mean, they're right next to their other civilian brotherhood, but it's crazy. So, the IDF guy said, you guys need to head west for the humanitarian shelters. So that's starting to heat up. But Israel, they're moving back more into the northern Gaza today. And they also took over both northern Gaza. They're moving in deeper, but also Rafah down there in the south along the Egyptian border. So Israel's moving back into Gaza much faster than they did in 2023 because they have everything already set up from when they were in there before. So the airstrikes are continuing. Right now it's still low key. I'm surprised, but Israel is taking out a bunch of their top Hamas leaders, which is pretty wild. So that came out. There's a bunch of fake news about these leaflets that were dropped earlier, basically saying that Trump is going to take over all of Gaza, and he's going to force displacement on all Gazans, whether you want it or not. The map of the world will not change if Gaza disappears, is supposedly what he said, but he didn't. This was actually Gaza Hamas propaganda being spread on the internet. So, but yeah, Egypt has presented a new ceasefire proposal in Gaza. And I don't know why I switched pictures to Macron and what's his name there, Khomeini. But we'll get to that story in a second. But Hamas is still trying to do a hostage deal with Israel, and they want to release 5 hostages. And the American offer was to release half of the hostages alive and half of the bodies held by Hamas. Hamas has said they will release 1 American-Israeli hostage and 5 bodies. So they're trying to come to some agreement between that, but I don't think they're going to. But, Gaza said that they would be willing to release the hostages on the condition that this is part of the transition to the second phase of the Gaza ceasefire agreement. And that's what they want Israel to do. But that would require Israel to move all the way out of Gaza, basically, and a bunch of stuff changing. So that's not going to happen. But yeah, with Macron, he called on all French citizens to leave Iran immediately. The ministry has done this before over fears of Iran abducting French citizens. So it looks like their intelligence organization of the IRGC, the Iranians, want to kidnap more French nationals to exchange for arrested or detained Iranian terrorists being held there in Europe. So, but yeah, here's what I'm talking about. This ceasefire, I think, with Israel, what they did was a brilliant idea because this gave the Israeli intelligence time to gather all kinds of stuff. I mean, look, in just 3 days, they've took out basically almost a dozen, if not more by now, terror leaders have been wiped out. So the head of the Hamas General Security Apparatus was killed in the Gaza Strip, and a couple others were today too, I saw. So the IDF's been killing additional terrorists in recent days, including this other guy, Ishmael Abdel Al, who was key terrorist in the Islamic Jihad weapons smuggling network, of all things. So now let's get back to the U.S. because we've got the Houthis to deal with, but they're reportedly the U.S. is going to send reinforcements to the Middle East and to arrive in the next 2 weeks. So this reinforcement will include air defenses. The U.S. official said American forces struck more than 60 Houthi targets in Yemen since Saturday. Over 60 targets in basically 6 days. These strikes included almost 6 days. These strikes included targeting Houthi engineers, operators, and officials associated with their drone program, of all things. So the U.S. operations against the Houthis will continue daily until they stop targeting our ships and our shipping, the U.S. officials said. So that's still going on with Israel. But check this out. Speaking of Macron, yeah, so the two-state solution is alive and well. And it's still coming this year. And this is kind of why I want to talk on the Bible prophecy at the end of the video. But yeah, Macron says he spoke with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and that the two leaders condemned the resumption of the Israeli airstrikes in Gaza. Emmanuel Macron says that they will co-chair a conference on a two-state solution aimed at helping revive a political perspective for both Israelis and Palestinians. So this is, I believe, still part of this big peace agreement deal coming up at the United Nations, June 2nd through the 4th. And Macron also said he welcomes the Jeddah, Jeddah initiative brought forward by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Jeddah is what they want to have done for the new state of Palestine and the new capital of Palestine with East Jerusalem as capital. But this is starting to all come together really quickly. So yeah, what do we have here? The IDF Minister Israel Katz approved the military's plan for the Gaza Strip a short while ago. They say that they're already seeing that the military pressure is influencing Hamas's position. The Israeli defense minister said, "We are not stopping until the hostages are released." Other top military and defense officials participated in this meeting. Israel is not going to stop with Gaza or Hamas. It's go time. Even in this meeting, their new chief of staff, Zamir, said defeating Hamas means defeating Hamas everywhere, including here in Judea and Samaria. And remember last night's video where Netanyahu met with that elite police force there at their undercover base, whatnot, to go into Judea and Samaria and get these terrorists. So, and apparently, side note, 2 cargo planes of the United States landed in northeast Syria today. And they were loaded with military and logistical equipment, as well as USA troops, as part of American steps to bolster its presence there in Syria. So one plane landed this morning, and another was followed this evening. So that's going on. But yeah, Yemen sure is taking out its stress because they launched another supersonic hypersonic ballistic missile today. And I said, Yemen sure is taking out its stress from the airstrikes by the United States and launching ballistic missiles towards Israel. And I said, I think the Houthis are asking for Israel to hit them very hard very soon because Israel's not going to put up with this much longer. And basically, the United States today came out and basically told Israel to stand down. We've got this. This is still our baby. So, but the Houthis were aiming today for the Ben Gurion airport there in Tel Aviv. And incoming missiles, sirens activated in the greater Jerusalem area, central Israel, and the Dead Sea, caused by a ballistic missile launched from Yemen, the IDF says. And that was another Palestine 2 ballistic missile that they fired. And it was intercepted again by the Arrow 3 exo-atmospheric missile defense system, probably there again over Jordan or Saudi Arabia. So, let's see here. Let's keep going. Oh, yeah, here it is. Yeah, the U.S. to Israel, stand down. We'll get them. The U.S. asked Israel to avoid retaliation against the Houthis after the latest missile attack. Ynet was reporting earlier today. The Americans want to take care of this themselves, Israeli sources say. So I said it will be interesting to see what's coming. When a United States military vessel or destroyer or aircraft carrier is struck by the Houthis, it will get very ugly for Yemen going forward. And it's just a matter of time. But you know what, Yemen, they posted this. Tel Aviv must evacuate. You will not live safely in Tel Aviv. To the residents and displaced persons in Tel Aviv, you're in a dangerous combat zone. The Yemeni armed forces will act forcefully against the Nazi terrorist organizations in the area where you're staying. Anyone who is in these areas is putting his life and the life of his family in danger. For your safety, you must evacuate immediately to the south, to the Negev desert, to humanitarian areas. The Negev desert, Negev, whatever you call that, is south of Jerusalem. But this happened earlier tonight. There was a humongous Israeli airstrike on a weapons storage place there in Lebanon. This was a very significant airstrike. The fog of war is getting crazy, so it's hard to know which one's real, but which one's not. But this story was very legit because there was multiple videos that started coming out, and you can see the rockets as they're shooting out from where the initial hit. And Israel confirmed that the Israeli strikes targeted massive underground Hezbollah sites in the Bekaa Valley region and rocket launchers in southern Lebanon. So, yeah. But yeah, the IDF continues to expand their ground operations in Gaza. And they're all over destroying terror infrastructure in the south, and they continue in the north. And, of course, they've taken over the Netzarim corridor and the coastal areas. So in northern Gaza, the IDF soldiers dismantled a Hamas command center that was being used for attacks. So, the airstrikes are going to continue. But this one's going to start raising eyebrows because the U.S. and Israel are holding a high-level Iran consultations next week. And I said we're getting closer and closer to an attack on Iran. The United States and Israel will hold high-level strategic consultations next week over Iran. And the question is, what will the United States and Israel do next? Israel doubts that a new nuclear deal will materialize with Iran. And Israel wants to coordinate the potential military steps with D.C. And guys, America and Israel, they've been training for this for years. So it's getting go time. And we're going to have a couple more articles coming up here in a second about Iran. But you know what? The unrest in Turkey continues. Turkish police started getting violent tonight. They were shooting rubber bullets against the Erdogan protesters. So, tear gas and rubber bullets. Yeah. So that's what we got going on over there. There's even though there was a protest ban, there's international calls are going out for restraint as Turkey's political crisis is deepening. Because they don't want Erdogan in there because they see him as a dictator for who he is. So, and I turned down the volume for you guys for tonight. But anyway. Six attacks. This is basically a But check this out. Here we go back to Trump. Rubio says Trump will take action against Iran if the nuclear diplomacy fails. So Marco Rubio, the United States Secretary of State, said yesterday that Trump will order military action against Iran to prevent it from getting a nuclear weapon. So Rubio said if you ask Trump, he would tell you that he would much prefer to work this out diplomatically without a war. But if you force him to choose between a nuclear Iran or taking action, the president has been clear. He will take action. And Rubio was asked whether the United States would act alone if it comes to blows with Iran. And Rubio said, well, if the president makes the decision that we need to take action to prevent Iran from having a nuclear capability, we have the ability to do that and to go further, perhaps even threaten the regime. And this is what they're going to do. When they do this, it's going to be nuts. But, this is, I still see these attacks literally within months. So this is coming up. And even next week, there's this huge high-level delegation that's heading to D.C. for talks just on the Iran nuclear issue. A delegation from Israel will be flying to the U.S. next week. And they're going to be having some major discussions. But check this out. The discussions will not include talks on the hostages, but will be mostly focused on the attack of Iran. The Strategic Affairs Minister, National Security Advisor, these two guys, Ron Dermer and Nagby, they're flying to D.C. next week for meetings with the senior U.S. officials in the Pentagon. And, Netanyahu, his senior advisors are going to discuss the Iranian nuclear program and the possibility of a U.S.-Israel attack on Iran. They're also going to talk about the war in Lebanon and talks between Israel and Lebanon on establishing an internationally recognized border between the two countries, like a buffer zone. But yeah, the hostage talks are notably not on the agenda. So this will be interesting to see. Let's keep going. Here's the other thing. An ex-IDF chief said that if Iran enriches to 90% uranium, so if Iran increases their uranium from 60% to 90%, which they're very close to doing, then a strike is a must. But the question in the debate is whether to attack Iran before they get to the 90% or after they get to the 90%. I have a feeling they're going to let them get to the after part, because this is why God's going to break the bow of Elam. Jeremiah 49 verses 34 to 37. At the foremost of their might, at the height of their might, at the height of their baby is a nuclear warhead to take out Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, Haifa, you name it. They want to just destroy Israel. And that's going to come into the prophecy that we're going to talk about if I get to it. Okay, keep going. But a joint U.S. strike with Israel on Iran is imminent. And, only months remain, maybe just a few weeks. But I wanted to show this one too, because today Israel announced they did a new upgraded Iron Dome test to implement lessons learned in the Gaza-Lebanon war. And the Iron Dome has gotten new capabilities, marking a significant upgrade. So in this upgraded Iron Dome test, they're building a huge stockpile of these interceptors.
Launching target.
Israel's getting ready for some serious punishment. Something's definitely.
Target detected.
They made this thing that's already world class. No doubt they're using AI. Sorry about that. I get excited. All right, guys. Here we're getting ready to get into the prophetic side. And for those of you who stuck around, goodness, I've already done it almost 20 minutes, 19 minutes. But I want to point out something that's coming up. And what I'm going to talk about is, how did I miss this? This came out on July 19th, 2024. We were probably focused last summer on the election and the assassination attempt on Donald Trump and his ear the previous weekend. But the World Court declared that Israel has been found to be illegal by being a nation and occupying Palestine ground. Israel's continued occupation of Palestinian territory is unlawful, said the United Nations World Court. And there's an article that I put up on Telegram that from UN.org discussing this. But I said on the Telegram post, this has Zechariah 12 verses 2 and 3 written all over it. It literally screams out saying, look here. The church needs to wake up ASAP. And we're going to go to that verse here in a minute, but I'm going to show this to you. But this is the World Court last year. Let's just do this. Oh my goodness, this is crazy town. Here we go. This is a watershed moment for Palestine, for justice and for international law. Israel's occupation has been declared unlawful by the World Court, which has stipulated that it must be terminated completely and as rapidly as possible. The court also found that illegal Israeli occupation violates the United Nations Charter of Humanitarian Law and International Law. The court further equivocally declared that all Israeli settlements in the occupied Palestinian territory are illegal and must be dismantled, and that all Israeli settlers must be evacuated. The court declared that Israeli illegal occupation not only violates but eviscerates the Palestinian people's right to self-determination in their own land, including the right to their own state. This ruling couldn't be more timely or sorely needed. The Palestinian people have endured unbearable suffering and injustice for decades. This ruling is a vindication of the steadfastness and perseverance. This right must no longer be denied or deferred. The court made clear that the Palestinian people are the only sovereign people in the occupied Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, and that the international community is under an obligation not just to reaffirm the Palestinian people's right to self-determination, but to see to it that this right is implemented immediately. All states in the United Nations are now under obligation not to recognize the legality of Israel's presence in the occupied Palestinian territory. Tell me that's not nuts. Maybe I shouldn't have talked over it, but the guy's kind of hard to hear, number one, but let's get to that verse if I can. Can I do this still on the phone? Why not? Yeah, let's go right to this, guys, because this is what I want to talk about. Check this out, verses 2 and 3. Behold, I am going to make Jerusalem a cup that causes reeling to all the peoples around. All the peoples around are the people surrounding Jerusalem and Israel. This is the Hebrew wording sabib, S-A-B-I-B, that I discussed. This is what it's talking about. The Arab army neighboring enemies that surround Israel. And when the siege is against Jerusalem, it will also be against Judah. There is coming very soon a siege against Judah and against Jerusalem. This is going to be an unsuccessful siege in Israel against Jews. They're going to try to take Jerusalem back, but this will be unsuccessful. The successful one comes in Zechariah 14, 2 chapters later. But my buddy Art Martin down there in Texas, him and I, we just got off the phone, and we've been texting buddies. A. Martin TX, I think is his name. You'll see him in the live streams and stuff. He's a great guy. And he says, I'm the only Bubba he knows outside of his world. So, no, it's kind of neat. But anyway, this is coming, guys. There's going to be an unsuccessful siege against Jerusalem and against Judah. But guess what Israel's biggest concern is right now? Judea and Samaria, the West Bank. They are going to break in and come against Judah. They are going to break in and come against Jerusalem. And it's coming soon. Because this is why Israel and Netanyahu, remember earlier in the video, Judea and Samaria, in last night's video, how he's visiting these guys, these elite police force and military guys, because they know something's up. I believe this is going to be the next unsuccessful siege into Jerusalem, into Judah, And instead of Hamas on October 7th, it's going to be the Palestinians in the West Bank making their move. But this is where it gets so important, because it will come about in that day that I will make Jerusalem a heavy stone for all the peoples. Not only just the people surrounding Israel, or like the West Bank, Palestinians. And like Israel said today, the IDF called, we need to take care of Hamas everywhere. In Gaza, yes, but we need to take care of them where? In the West Bank, Judea and Samaria. They're talking about it too. But this is where it's going to make Jerusalem the bad guy again. Of course, all who try to help Jerusalem and Israel will be severely injured, and all the nations of the earth will be gathered against it. All the United Nations countries are going to be gathered against Israel in unison with United Nations Security Council resolutions. Just like this one, the UN court back there on July 19th, 2024. Both the World Court and the United Nations called out through a United Nations General Assembly resolution that this is illegal for Israel to be in Israel as a nation, as a country, on Palestinian lands, but even more so in the West Bank, Judea and Samaria, that Israel is going to take over prophetically. That's still Bible prophesied. But they want Israel out, and this ties right into Psalm 83, verses 3, 4, and 5 in that area. To wipe out Israel so that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance, because they don't want Israel as the name of this land. They want Palestine as the name of this land. And that's what this entire huge meeting is coming up on June 2nd through the 4th. Guys, this is getting crazy, but I just wanted to get this out and talk to you guys because, guys, literally, the Bible verses are screaming out to us right here. There's going to be an attack coming in from the West Bank. I don't know when. Probably within weeks. Maybe months. 2 months max. But something's coming up big with Iran, too. We've got to keep our eyes on Syria. We've got to keep our eyes on Lebanon and the Hezbollah. Plus the Houthis. They're just getting nutty professor. And Iran's talking about doing their True Promise 3 attack on Israel. And this is going to be a tough call for the United States and Israel when to hit them, when to hit Iran. But that day is coming up. I don't know if the Damascus prophecy is going to be before the Iran prophecy. I don't know if the Psalm 83 is going to be before the Damascus prophecy or the Iran prophecy. I believe so, but we're getting so close, it's hard to tell. But guys, this is starting to get nuts. But yeah, the church needs to wake up ASAP. And forgive me, guys, for rambling on, but you know what? Sometimes we have to use like the NASB 95 above, because I already know I'm going to get the comments, oh, you're not using King James only. Okay. But you know what? Sometimes these messages do go out to the unsaved, and they need to understand it, because they need to see it with their own eyes. Faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So guys, I'm getting excited because, yeah, we're going to have to start doing these videos more and more because everything's starting to come together. So thanks, guys. Oh, goodness. I guess I went on for 28 minutes. I didn't mean to go this long, guys, but thank you so much for watching. For those of you who've been praying for me, thank you so much. Much to talk about soon. If anyone would like to help donate or support this little ministry Bubba's got going, there's links down in the description box below. But guys, there's so many people out there hurting. We got to keep praying for each other, and we've got to just encourage one another. 1 Thessalonians 5:1. You know, keep encouraging one another as you already do. So, guys, keep going. We're getting close, but I'm going to quit blabbing. Thanks for sticking around, and thanks for watching.